So, children, let's start the lecture 8 of current electricity today. And in this lecture, what are we going to learn? We are going to learn about the heating effect of the current. So, what are the effects of the current? Let's talk about that first. The effects of the currents are, the first effect is if you pass electric current through a circuit, it will get heated. Garam ho jati hai wire. Second effect is the magnetic. If you pass the current through a wire, a magnetic field is produced around the wire. So this is the magnetic effect. And the third effect is the chemical effect. If you pass current through some chemical substance, the chemical composition also will change. Right. Now here we are going to discuss about the heating effect of the current. Okay. So let's do it. So, what happens when current is passed through the wire? In a television, you can see it, touch it, slightly it is hot. Yes, every day in the morning you press your clothes using a iron. And also we had that incandescent lamp earlier, so that used to glow on passing the current through it. Now, how does it happen? For this, let us study about a heating effect of the current, why it happens, right? So let's consider a wire. You all know that in the wire the atoms are continuously in the state of the vibration. There are free electrons which are in the random state of the motion. When the current is passed through it by connecting it across a circuit, what happens? The electrons will start moving with more kinetic energy in a particular direction. That means the kinetic energy will increase. Kinetic energy increases means the collision happens more frequently. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा collisions होगा. तो due to the collisions, what happens is the kinetic energy of this electrons is lost. राइट कम हो जाता है काइनेटिक एनर्जी सो कम हो जाता है तो लेकिन देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज द लॉ ऑफ कंजर्वेशन ऑफ एनर्जी व्हाट डज इट से it says that the energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So what happens? This loss of the kinetic energy is converted into the heat energy, and that is the reason the wire, when we pass electric current through it, it becomes hot. Right? Okay. Now, this experiment was conducted by a great scientist whose name is Joule. He got some very interesting results. According to this law, the heat which is produced in a resistor is directly proportional to the square of the current which is passing through the resistor. Now I have got the resistor out here. There is a current which is I which is flowing through it. The resistor is R. Of course, the circuit is complete and we have got a source of voltage which is attached to it. Okay, now he says that the heat which is produced in this resistor, that is taken as H, and H is directly proportional to the square of the current. Okay, the second experiment, and he also found that the heat is also proportional to the resistance. More the resistance, the heat is also more, and vice versa. Let the resistance be small, the heat is also very, very small. Okay, and the third important factor is the heat which is produced is directly proportional to the time t. So when you combine all this, we have got the H is directly proportionate to I square R and T. This was the experiment which was done by the great scientist whose name was Joule. Right? He did this experiment and got this result. Okay. Now, in the SI system of units, you know that H is equal to K, I square RT. In SI systems, the unit is set in such a way that K is equal to 1. So what is the value of H? H is equal to I square R multiplied by T. So this is the main equation for the heat which is produced in a conductor. Right. Now, we can have many other versions of the same, but this is an experimental result. So if you are given many other results, this is the correct one. Right. Okay. Now, let us have the different forms of the same expression H is equal to I square RT. We all know that. What about the current? Come on, tell me. What is Q? What is Q? We all know Q is equal to I multiplied by T, right? And what about V? V is equal to I multiplied by R. Okay. What is I, bacha? It is equal to V divided by R. Okay. Now, instead of this H, H is equal to I, know it is equal to I square R multiplied by T. Okay. Now, instead of this I, can I put this V by R? Yes. Take this as equation 1, and here you put V upon R square into R multiplied by T. What do you get? V square by R square into R multiplied by T, that is equal to H. So what about H? So you can cancel these two and get the answer as V square by R multiplied by T. So H is equal to V square by R multiplied by T. This is your answer, right? So we have got the first expression as I square RT. The second expression as H is equal to V square by R multiplied by T. There is another expression also, right? We all know that H is equal to I into I R multiplied by T. Bachcha log, what is IR? Huh? We know IR is equal to V. So in this IR, we can put as what? H is equal to I into V multiplied by T. So what is this H? H is equal to VIT. So there is a third formula for the heat, and that is equal to V into I into T. So we have got the value of the heat which is produced in a conductor, which is the most correct one. So you can have this and say that the correct experimental result is this one. But there are other forms also. What are the other forms? The second one is you have got V square by R into T, and H is equal to V into I into T. These two are also alternatively used. Okay, so let's go and see. We have studied about the heating effect of the current. There should be some use of it. So what are the various uses? That is what we are going to study in the next topic, right? Let's do it. हे ब्रेन टीजर्स, हम देखते हैं तुम लोगों ने कितने ध्यान से इस बात को सुना जो मैंने अभी पढ़ाया. चलो 4 आंसर्स दे दिए हैं. H इज इक्वल टू V इंटू I इंटू T. दूसरा है H इज इक्वल टू VT डिवाइडेड बाई R दैट मच ऑफ जूल्स, एंड H इज इक्वल टू I स्क्वायर RT जूल्स, और H इज इक्वल टू V स्क्वायर इंटू T डिवाइडेड बाई R. भैया इसमें से सही वाला कौन सा होगा? अभी तो तीनों फॉर्मूलाज मैंने सिखा दिया, लेकिन सबसे सही कौन सा है? एक्सपेरिमेंटल लॉ. तो यही लिखना, बाकी कुछ को मत लिखना, ठीक है? चलो. हाँ, इलेक्ट्रिक बल्ब में हीटिंग इफेक्ट ऑफ द करंट इज यूज्ड. यू मस्ट हैव सीन दिस बल्ब, right? Okay, now this looks something of that sort because now this is becoming obsolete. तो देखना है मुझे कि कैसा आजकल दिख रहा है कि नहीं. आपने देखा है कि नहीं इसको? हाँ, देखा है सबने? हाँ, ठीक है. अभी तो मिल रहा है. कुछ दिनों के बाद में ये बल्ब गायब हो जाएगा क्योंकि एलईडी बल्ब्स आ गए हैं और बाकी बल्ब्स आ गए. लेकिन ये बल्ब किस प्रकार से काम करता है आपने देखा होगा कि ये बल्ब है, इसके अंदर में टंगस्टन का एक वायर लगा हुआ है, और ये बल्ब is enclosed in a glass covering, right? Now, you know that the filament is made up of tungstens. This filament, which is made up of tungstens, has got a very, very high resistance, and it has also got a very, very high melting point, right? So when you pass the current, because of the high resistance, the bulb will start glowing. And the tungsten has got a very, very high melting point, so it is not going to break. And third thing is, the whole of this particular bulb is enclosed in a glass container which has got some special gas in it, the argon gas, nitrogen gas, which is filled into it. Because this tungsten, when it becomes very hot, it will react with oxygen and it will get destroyed. We don't want that. We want the bulb to be glowing for so many years. So what exactly it is? It is the nitrogen and oxygen which actually prevents this tungsten, and we get the glow. It's a shiny yellow colored glow which you get in the rooms. Okay, now the next one is, अब जो आ गया, that is the electrical iron. We all use electric iron every day in our life. प्रेस तो करना होता है ना. Now, what does it comprise of? See, it looks like here, if you open this and see, you will have a coil of high resistance. And it is covered by mica sheet. Huh. Insulated mica sheet. What is the property of this mica sheet? Mica sheet is a very bad conductor of electricity, but a good conductor of, that is, heat. So, what will it do? It will prevent the current from entering into the metal. See, this is all made up of metal, right? So, the current will not enter the metal, so you will not get a shock, right? You can press easily, and then you can see that below this high resistance coil, you have got the heavy metal block. When you take the press in your hand, it will be heavy, right? So, that is there, and then there is a wire from which the current enters and pass through the coil. So when the current is passed through the coil will get heated, right? So what will happen then you can press it, right? Similarly, we need to talk about the electrical fuse in our house. Now, what is the use of the fuse? Electrical fuse protects the coil and appliance by stopping the excess flow. समटाइम्स व्हाट हैपेंस फ्रॉम मेन जो भी हमारा जो घर का कनेक्शन होता है उसमें से कई बार शॉर्ट सर्किट हो जाती है, कोई और कारण होता है, देयर इज अ ह्यूज करंट विच इज एंटरिंग द हाउस. That is very dangerous for all the equipment what you have in our house. Okay, now what you can see is the fuse. Now it is not used. पुराने जमाने में इसको यूज करते थे. The fuse comprise of a porcelain body, and this porcelain body will have a wire. This wire is made up of an alloy which is made up of lead and tin. This has got a special property that it has got a low melting point, and it will also have a very high resistance. Now, if you pass excess current through this wire, what will happen? It will melt. Right? Now, if you have got the main supply, from the main supply, we get the current in our household, and it passes through this fuse coil, and it is connected to the appliances, and appliances will get the current. Suppose we connect it to the TV. What will happen? Domestic voltage will be having the voltage around 220 to 40 volts. There'll be a small current which is flowing through this wire, maybe 5 amperes or so. So you will not have the equipment which is destroyed. But what happens if the current is small? You will get all the equipments working very nicely. You can watch the TV, right? Now, suppose there is a short circuit or some other reason which is something wrong in the circuit, and a huge amount of current flows in the circuit. If it does not pass through the fuse coil, this TV will get destroyed. We don't want that to happen. So what will we do? We will pass the current through the fuse wire, and the fuse wire, because of the low melting point and high resistance, it will get melted and the circuit is broken. And since the circuit is broken, what happens next is our equipments are protected. Right, this is the use. Now, normally the fuses on the domestic purpose, what are the values? It may be 1 ampere, 2 ampere, 3 ampere, 4, 5, 10, etc. as stated, right? It depends upon the thickness of this fuse wire. If the thickness of the fuse wire is very large, it will allow a larger amount of current through it, and if it is thin, it will allow only a very small value of the current through it. Okay, so accordingly, it should be not of any other metal. It should be the special alloy which is made up of lead and tin. You should use the proper fuse wire. Okay. Now, the questions we'll discuss. Why are the coils of the electrical toasters and electrical irons made up of alloy rather than a pure metal? Or the question which will be asked is, the chrome wire is used for making heating elements of electrical appliances like iron, geyser. Give reasons. Why are these made up of metal alloys, not of a pure metal? The reason here is the coil of the electrical toasters and iron are made up of alloys rather than the pure metal because resistivity of the alloy is higher than the pure metals. Alloys have higher melting point, so they do not melt easily. Also, the alloys do not oxidize at the higher temperature and can be kept red hot. These are the reasons why we use an alloy rather than a pure metal for making a coil resistors. Okay, now the next question. Why does the cord of an electrical heater do not glow while the heating element does? कॉर्ड रहता है इलेक्ट्रिकल हीटर में. कॉर्ड मतलब जो वायर आ रही है और उसका कॉइल है. कॉइल ग्लो होता है और कॉर्ड ग्लो नहीं होता. तो the reason is the heating element is made up of an alloy which has got a very high resistance. So when the current flows through the element, it becomes hot and glows. Right? Now what happens to the cord? Cord is made up of copper, aluminum. तो रेजिस्टेंस क्या है उसका? कम है ना. इट हैज गॉट लो रेजिस्टेंस. सो करंट इज द सेम बट इट विल नॉट गेट hot because we know H is equal to what? It is I square RT. Huh? So the resistance is low. So resistance is low, that means heat is low. But in the case of the heating element, the resistance is high. So the glow is also high. Clear? Current is same, हाँ? Current same flow हो रहा है, नहीं तो फर्क पड़ेगा. सो थैंक यू बच्चों. मुझे पता है कि आप लोगों ने इसको बहुत अच्छे से किया. नीचे एक्सरसाइज दिया होगा, जाओ और इसको सॉल्व करो. ठीक है, चलो बाय.